We have a quorum.
Oh yeah, it's time.
It's time. Barry?
It's time, and I think we needed to get a bigger room. And next time, ask for a larger room.
Yeah. All right. Of the quorum that we have, is anyone awake? All right, blue sheets should be on their way around. Do we have someone who would like to scribe notes in this room? Any volunteers? Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Excellent. All right. Welcome to Calext. I'm Bron. I'm your new chair, but you already know that. And Daniel here, who's been doing it for a while now. Here is the note well. I think we have all seen this document very many times. Everything that happens in here doesn't just stays in here. This is the agenda that I put together the other day. Sorry, it is small and hard to read. Any agenda bashing at this point?
This is Barry Lieba. No agenda bashing, but just a quick note, since Alexei's got is buried in his laptop right now, that we have reshifted the working groups now that I'm the new AD, and Alexei has passed this one on to me. So I will be the responsible AD for Calext. And I also wanted to call out Michael, who is here for the first time in person. We've seen his name on the mailing lists. Michael Slusars is, actually, we know his face now. Hi.
Hey.
You're not at all.
That's right. I know that. Maybe at the end we can also have a discussion of the format we want to adopt regarding should we have side meetings versus working group meeting. I'm more in favor of working group meeting, but that's maybe something we can chat on.
Can you elaborate?
Oh, because I saw a lot of side meetings, and because we don't have that huge assembly of people, so maybe that's something we could discuss.
You mean, this is Barry, you mean having it as in one of the side meeting slots rather than in why would you want to do that?
I'm just asking the question. I don't want that. I prefer this.
Okay, I think as AD, I prefer this also. That way you are in the scheduling process
Exactly.
rather than doing ad hoc scheduling, and you have conflict resolution built in and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
I'd say one other thing as well is that
we're more likely to come as AD because, if we know that conflicts are avoided as much as possible.
Okay. Yes. Also, we get the Mexico facility, and given that half the people here are remote, that's quite valuable to us.
I would say, judging from the Meet Echo list up on the screen, well more than half.
We're not counting Chris's heads in his laptop over there. All right, shall we do this thing? CalDev attachments. This has had a recent update to the draft. It's sitting in the queue for Alexia to deal with. It's a horrible abuse of HTTP, but it's already in the field. So we were talking about just publishing what's there as informational, so at least people can understand what the Apple clients and servers are doing right now.
Yes, this document made me cry. I'm not going to recap the whole history of it, but I think the last time I looked at it, there was things that potentially required double checking with HTTP-based working group. So we downgraded the document from proposed standard to informational, but it was still using content disposition on responses, which apparently wasn't defined for requests, was only defined for requests. So I need to double check what's the latest text. Sorry, I haven't checked. I don't know where. This is still a synchronization point. I cannot just go and approve it if the issue is still there. So.
Is there anything you need from me for this?
Bring me more time. So Julian is actually here this week. And Julian was the one who raised all the objections about HTTP abuse. Unfortunately, I haven't read the document recently, so it's sort of... I might...
Well,
Ken?
Thanks. Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know.
Can you guys hear me or no?
Yep.
Yes.
I took Julian's suggestion and added text that says this is only to be used for this particular draft and is not the standard use of content disposition. I don't know if that's going to be sufficient, but that was his suggestion, and that's what I did. So I did not go through the trouble of registering it as a standard response header field.
I mean, my personal opinion, which probably, I don't know whether it agrees or disagrees with Julian's, is it's still a good, the mechanism itself, the content disposition and responses seems to make sense. So we probably, if it makes sense, it's generic enough, we probably should go through the process of doing it.
Actually, this draft was using it as a request header, not as a response header. That was the point of contention.
Yes. Sorry, I mixed up the request response. I think it's defined on responses. It's not defined for requests. So it's the other way around, basically. But it's similar usage type. So.
Oh.
Ooh. We got 20% more of the working group.
He's running away again. Pete just walked in.
I'm wondering, Bron, can you be a proxy for Ken and maybe talk to Julian this week?
Okay.
And I would ask the question of, what do you think is the best thing for this particular element to do? Is it sufficient as far as Julian is concerned to just mention it as a special case? I mean, ideally, it probably was registering it properly, but I understand it's going to be probably a separate document and extra delay. But also trying to figure out what Julian thinks is the right thing. Whether we agree or disagree probably would be a good idea.
Got it.
But just a comment. So my understanding of this draft is that we are more documenting an implementation than trying to do the right thing. So should we have some text saying, we know it's bad, but it is how it is currently being implemented, and make it very clear that.
Well, that's what's there now.
Yeah, well,
In the last iteration of the draft, I did add a bulleted list of all the non-standard uses of HTTP, which was another suggestion that I received from Julian. And it does talk about the fact that we're using that header in a non-standard way.
Okay.
okay, so basically 2 action items. Bron will talk to Julian this week. Yes?
Yes.
Just, double check. And I will try to review the diff and see. If I get to it this week, I will. But I might be a bit swamped.
It's not easy to read on this screen, is it? That's fine. All right, back to the slides. Next, Event Pub. This one, again, is with you, Alexei.
Was it updated? It was updated, was it?
February 2019.
Right. Oh, yeah. So basically, after the previous document, I did such a thorough review. I thought I just wouldn't let you people get away with anything this time. So I think Michael updated the document, so I just need to double check. I certainly, I think I did a quick scan, but I don't remember my full review, so I just need to double check that all the points are addressed. I'm sure that at least some of them are, but.
So if I recall correctly, we sent it to you.
So that was my AD evaluation. I said new revision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you provide some feedbacks, but some other people in the working group, we missed some comments, so we readdressed those. And
yeah, there was an extra property or something added as well, yes.
And later, some people from CalConnect came with other changes that have been integrated by Michael as well.
Okay.
That's my history. All that within this AD review.
Yeah, so basically, I need to check the changes and compare it with my review. And if I'm happy that I will start AT plus call on this one.
Cool. Next.
Yeah, so that brings up the question, Alexei, of what we do with the transition from you to me. I certainly would like, given that the attachments has been held up for over a year and is through IESG evaluation, I would like you to finish up with that. But this one hasn't gone to IASG, it hasn't gone to last call yet. So perhaps once you're finished, when you're satisfied with your AD evaluation, pass it on to me and I'll take it from there. Because, if you want to keep with the document, that's okay. But if it's my working group to deal with, then I should take it off your hands. But I'm okay either way.
Okay, how about if the document turns out to be problematic, I will give it to you.
No, you got to decide now and forever.
Well, I don't think it matters because I suspect that I already done my first read. I'm sure you will read it whether you are sponsoring AD or not. So I don't think it matters.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sort of okay with keeping this one. So.
Okay.
All right. back to the slides. Next is JS Calendar. And the slides for that are here.
Okay, am I on?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so hey everybody. Given that the majority of the audience seems to know about JS Calendar already, I'm gonna skip the introductory part. So let's please jump to slide number 3, status. So we had entered last call with version 10 about a quarter ago, if I recall correctly. Since then, we had received substantial feedback and changed quite some parts of the specification. We are now at version 12, and it's now stabilizing very much, and we would like to further discuss then if to enter last call again or what's the next step. Coming shortly to some of the changes on slide number 4, there shouldn't be many surprises at first glance. What has changed is that for time zones, we now also allowed to define custom time zones to be embedded in the JS calendar object that has been requested by a couple of people to stay backwards compatible with their existing data. So there is now full support for what you can basically put into a V time zone in JS calendar. Other than that, on slide number 5, just a couple of differences to the iCalendar model are that we have a much richer data model for locations. On slide number 5, please. We have much richer models for locations, for event and task participants, as well as for descriptions. And there is also the option to localize content, hopefully much better than in iCalendar. So the discussion that we currently still have open on slide number 6 are slide number 6, please. Next slide. Okay, so the question are, what's the best next step to standardize the parts of the specification that have undergone already many reviews and where there is consensus, and we already see a couple of people implementing this in various parts of the specification or various drafts of the specification. One thing we are wondering about if the translation from between iCalendar and JS Calendar that we have currently in the core document should be separated into an informational document, as it's not as it is just a recommendation, not necessarily a standardization. The other thing we are wondering about is if JS task is good enough. We had a lot of feedback from people, but the overall number of people commenting on it wasn't that large. So we are wondering if we should standardize events separately from tasks and continue working on that. The other parts are minor discussions that basically are done already, and we'll get into version 13 that I will send out very soon now. So on the next slide, slide number 7, the question is what are the next steps? And there, in my understanding, the open decision points are mainly what to put into the document to start the finalization of standardization, and close to that. So what is the next step to enter last call again? That's the presentation. Thank you.
There's also one thing that Alexei raised to me just a few minutes ago, which was whether we were going to have a way to round trip unknown iCalendar fields into this format.
Yes, sorry, I forgot about that. I wanted to mention it. We had been thinking about this couple of times, and I understand the need, and we might want to think about options. One could be to round trip these properties using the Cal format, but we can come up with a couple of options.
Sorry, we just lost you on those last few words there, Robert.
Oh, I just was saying we might want to think into using JCal for round tripping them, but we can look into if we also find other options for round tripping.
No, you've just gone.
Sorry, probably my microphone just died. So I just said we might want to look into JCal for that. So round tripping properties in JS in JCal form.
All right. I assume, Barry, you will be the area director for this one. What's your opinion on where we should go from here? Should we restart the last call now? Working group last call?
Is it a second one?
Yeah.
I think that's a working group chair decision. I don't really have an opinion.
Okay.
So what is the pleasure?
So some of them were renaming fields so they make more sense in isolation. Things like part stat, for example, you have to go back every time and understand what that means from the RFC. Everyone who discovers it newly doesn't understand, so that got fully spelled out as participation status. There are a bunch of things like that where we looked at the naming and said, does this make sense in isolation? Let's choose names that make sense to someone reading this data format without iCalendar as a reference. Robert probably has more. If the sound's working again.
I'm not sure. Is it?
It is,
Yeah.
at least at the moment.
So the question was if there are, what were the changes or what are anticipated changes?
How substantive are the changes so we can decide whether we should do a formal working group last call again?
There are no expected changes.
And you're breaking up again. Not working. Yeah, we're going to red button you out, come back in. While we're doing that, so my sense, the reason that I don't care, that I think it's up to you, is that it's a very small working group with just a few very active participants who I presume have been following what's going on. So I'm not really worried if we go straight to publication requested and we do a community last call, and then one of our participants pops up and says, oh, the latest changes, there's an issue. I think for the most part, people have been following it, and I don't think it's a problem either way.
All right.
Yeah, especially given that when we started the working group last call, I think we intended some updates during that call.
Yeah.
Channeling Robert, I'd push a version 13 up to the IETF repo this week.
All right, cool. And then we'll push that for publication, and if there's any last comments, they can come through during that phase. All right, back to the chair slides. Next is our relationship with the TZ dist list and time zone work in general.
I have an opinion.
Hi, Alexi.
I was looking for Elliot, actually. Well, you say what you want to say, and then I'll comment at the end.
Go for it. I was throwing this one open to the group.
So, as far as I remember, there are 3 documents. There was the base format one, which IAG sponsored, and it was discussed on a GZDist mailing list, right?
So it's TZDist
BIS. Yes, because Barry closed the original mailing list, and it got everybody very confused. But apparently, he had a good reason. So
Very good.
because some people were misbehaving there. Right. So My early advice to Elliot was start acting like a working group. And if you do a good job, you probably will be one. So I'm tempted with this one to actually create a working group for the remaining 2 documents, especially considering there are geolocation stuff there. And this is a bit of a hot button for some of our esteemed art co-ADs. And, it would be nice to, there are lots of people concerned about geolocation privacy and, yeah, so they will definitely review and possibly even, recommend some specific text.
So if I understand you correctly, you would like to have it
A separate working group, yeah.
This and
Yeah.
okay.
Keep the reuse TZ dist bis mailing list.
Yes.
Create a working group.
Which could be called TZ this.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good.
So I will push this to you, considering that you seemed like interested parties as a new Calext chairs. Maybe you would like to gather other interested party this week and come up with a charter. I suggest you go find Elliot Lear.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him about this, but I suspect that he might agree to co-chair.
All right.
I mean, this is my preference. If people have a really good reason why it should be kept here, or if we couldn't find chairs or whatever, yeah, we can revisit. But for now, I prefer a separate working group.
I guess the only argument for keeping it here is we don't have much other work coming down through this group, particularly with JS, unless JS Contact comes in here as well. There is the work that's coming from CalConnect that we'll get to in a minute.
Yes.
So whether there's not enough work for whether you will just wind up with a multiplicity of working groups, each of which needs minimum 1 hour if it wants time on the schedule.
Yeah, that's not the issue. I think you're aware that there are some people with particular bones to pick about any of the time zone stuff. And I don't want anybody to be able to accuse us of trying to hide it. And I don't want those people to come here and disrupt this working group. That's why I think a separate working group would be good. And I hope that a working group that's tightly chartered would keep the disruptors from getting too annoyed or annoying.
Cool. All right. Moving on to the CalConnect work. There are many drafts in the CalConnect public drafts repository or expired drafts that have been proposed as individual drafts at IETF and haven't been followed up on. I've been working within CalConnect to convince them that it is worth bringing this work to the IETF and that it will actually get discussed here. It won't disappear. The relationship got fairly sour a few years ago, and there was talk within CalConnect of, screw these IETF guys, we're just going to publish everything through ourselves or through ISO. I'm trying to discourage that as a pathway forwards, particularly for things that update existing IETF documents. So I would like to encourage them to bring the work here.
Would there be any value in ART ADs making another trip to CalConnect, which we have done in the past?
Potentially the next 3 CalConnects. There's one in the UK coming up in the first week of June. There's one in Philadelphia being hosted by Fastmail. And then we believe that Apple are going to host.
Well, the second one is a quick SEPTA ride from me, so
yes,
that would be fine.
Excellent. I think that would be good.
So both Barry and myself went to different CalConnects in the past. I'm actually tempted to, we probably should continue doing this, but another thing that might be worth doing is maybe CalConnect can collocate with IETF. Like do it at, the week before IETF somewhere next year, for example. Well, all locations are known. Yeah.
Potentially, CalConnect was also talking about co-locating with Morg at one stage.
Probably San Francisco in
So-
February.
Yeah, given that Apple is looking at hosting in San Francisco for next February anyway, that might wind up happening. Don't know yet.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's not Minneapolis.
Just a bug in your ear about that. If you do that, I would prefer you do it the week before rather than the week after, because the week after is NDSS in San Diego.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. I don't know how much control I have over when Apple's going to be available.
If you have a choice.
Yes. All right. So looking at the drafts, there are two drafts, the VPOL and subscription upgrade, that I would like to propose that we adopt into this working group to work on. They are somewhat complete, but not entirely done, and in a good state to bring to the mailing list here and propose that CalConnect work on, and that Calext work on, and that hopefully can be published fairly soon.
And just to close the loop on where IETF is next year, it's Vancouver in March, Madrid in July, and TBD, presumably Asia, in November. And then we're back to Prague the following spring.
Good old Prague. Yeah. It's easy for everybody. Everybody. All right. As easy as anything is for Australians.
Well, exactly. Get to London.
London's not further away. By the time you get in an airplane,
Yeah.
it's all the same. London is 2 hops from Melbourne. Prague is 2 hops from Melbourne. It's the same distance. Most places in the world are the same distance. All right. So I'll do a call for adoption to the mailing list for those 2 documents. There are other things, the auto discovery, calendar push, and the calendar sharing documents that I could also throw them straight into call for adoption now, or we can try and bring things through slowly. I don't know what you prefer to do. As Area Director, throw them all in. Awesome.
How many prepare?
5 at the moment.
It's a question to me of milestones. I don't have any objection to having 5 or 10 documents on the docket as long as you planned out the work and have appropriate milestones. So
All right.
it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to actively work on all of them at once. They're just on the list.
Well, we should.
But I discourage you from having too many documents
Yeah.
in active development at once. But again, that's your decision about how many is appropriate for the energy of the working group.
Of those 5, there are 3 separate authors working on them. So probably at least 1 for each of those authors.
Okay, that's all right. I'll just remind you that it isn't just about the authors. It's also about who's willing to review documents and comment.
Yeah.
And people are often willing to do that about a couple of documents, but not 6. So,
Yep. All right. Next is charter. So the current charter is a couple of years old, and it mentions that we will work on a bunch of work that's already been done, and not much else. I sent around a draft charter a little while back. It is here in the supporting docs.
Can I come back to the document pub event
Yep.
stuff? I just checked the diff against my comments. My comments were not addressed.
Okay. Mike is here. Mike, do you want to speak about it? remotely here.
I've noticed that at least one of my comments was wrong, but I never got any response to any of them. Some of them need more text and not just syntactic stuff. So I think we need to have a discussion about something.
Okay.
So
Thanks. I will
We'll see
follow
that.
up with Mike on that.
So I'll put it in.
one thing with the discussion we had regarding maybe the charter, we had this V card. So we have to evaluate eventually that.
Right. I think at the moment, the vCard stuff is still in the dispatch queue. Discussion there about where to bring it needs to settle. And as far as I know, there hasn't been a whole lot of discussion about that. So have that discussion and then we'll see what happens. As you've heard in the dispatch meeting, my opinion is that it shouldn't be here. It should be in its own working group, or if not, in JMAP. But that's my opinion, and I'm not going to, I have no more say than anyone else.
Should we recharter now, not including that, and then come back to it, or should we wait?
I think you should recharter. There was a time when we said, let's try to make the charters really broad so we can keep moving on work. We're now in a state where rechartering is easy enough that if we have to recharter again in a couple of months, we can do it. So,
all right. I might just read through what's here and then see if it makes sense read out loud. It'll take a couple of minutes. Calendar Extension Working Group is chartered to develop extensions to iCalendar, iTip, and CalDAV standards. Working Group will do the following: define a new JSON-based format for calendaring and a mapping from iCalendar to the new format, which is JS Calendar. Define a new set of iCalendar properties to improve management of alarms and default notifications on calendar events. That's one of the pieces of work that we're bringing through very soon. Define a standard way for CalDAV clients to control creation and delivery of scheduling messages by a server while cleaning up after abuse, migrating events, or restoring from backups, which for some reason doesn't appear to be in the slides. That was my draft that I've just written up quite recently. Google do exactly the same thing in-house in their server, and we use it now. You're looking.
Well, I'm puzzled about that one that you just read about why it's do this when cleaning up after abuse, etc.
So basically ways of turning off scheduling on the server to say, I just want to store this record on there, don't do the regular scheduling stuff. So restoring from backups, if you are going deleting.
Control.
Yeah.
So throttle is really what you mean there, that kind of control.
Suppress.
Suppress
might be a better word.
Yeah, okay, then that makes it much clearer about what's going on. Okay, thank you.
Cool. I will change that word to suppress. There we go. Define a set of new iCalendar properties and parameters to standardize some existing experimental X properties in common use based on a survey of existing implementations. Define an extension to iCalendar to support consensus scheduling where members of an event or task vote on alternatives. This is the BPOL stuff. Maintain the existing standards for calendaring by vetting errata and, where necessary, writing specifications to clarify, update, or replace the existing documents. The working group will work under the following parameters. The extensions developed are expected to be backwards compatible with the existing calendar standards. Incompatibilities must be identified, minimized, and justified. For each set of extensions, examine their impact on the iTip protocol and define any necessary extensions to iTip to accommodate such impact. For each set of extensions, examine their impact on the CalDAV protocol, define any necessary extensions to CalDAV to accommodate such impact. Interface with HTTP BIS to ensure that any CalDAV changes are consistent with good HTTP practices. Where any implementations already exist and have been shipping for some time, either document existing behavior as well as preferred standard, or just document the existing behavior as informational, which deals with things like the CalDAV attachments that have been shipping for years, and there's not much we can do about it other than at least make sure people know. Out of scope is any change that impacts backwards compatibility with existing deployed calendars and servers will be discussed. That's basically repeating above. And we're still not going to try and do non-Gregorian calendar systems. Is there anything obvious missing or that should be added to that? Everything in that list is something that we're already working on or is just about ready to be added. All right. You happy, Barry?
Yep.
Excellent. I will update the dodgy word and propose that then. Other business. Review of milestones. I haven't put anything in there. We looked over the milestones fairly recently. I don't know if it will let me in to review them on here actually. Just because that's not logged in. Calext docs. Yeah. I've got it up on my screen too now.
Okay.
So milestones, we have April 2019 update charter. We're on target for that. June, we have CalDAV attachments, event pub, iCal relations, and JS calendar. Why is iCal relations there and not in our document list?
They just hit 4.
Yes. Where's iCal relations and why is it not showing up?
It is June 19th. Oh, because probably.
Why is it not in our
update.
active drafts?
Yeah, it's probably because it has passed the 6 months deadline.
Okay,
That's the.
so we should follow
It has to be
on
republished.
Okay. I'll put a note to myself here. Follow up on iCal relations draft. That's why that didn't appear on my list at all. I doubt we'll get all 4 of them through by June, realistically. What do we think? We push event pub back, given that it still needs additional work before Alexi's ready for it.
I think we can match those 2 goals.
We manage those ones?
Yeah.
Just open up iCal relations and check who's the
We'll
author on
see
that.
June.
Okay, that's Mike as well.
Considering I'm no longer going to be your AD at this point, so Barry can override me. I suggest limiting to a couple of documents at a time.
Yep.
At least in the same state, you can send 2 documents at a time.
Yep.
To Barry for review and have like 2 more in working group last call, but don't send like 4 documents at the same time. This is should you succeed at this would be peak overload for AD. So
All right. So well, CalDAV attachments is pretty much ready to go. Hopefully, once I've checked that up, so that will go through.
Right.
Earlier.
Attachments is not an issue. That's not going to go back through the process.
Yep.
Alexei just has to.
But the other
Clear
3,
as
event
discussed.
pub and iCal relations, need to be worked through.
Right.
And then JS calendar will arrive.
The thing to watch for is that if there are any documents that ought to be reviewed together,
Yep.
try to send those at the same time. But otherwise, yeah.
That's not really the case.
All right.
I don't think so, but
So we think this current set of milestones is still reasonable, and then we'll set some milestones further in future for the documents that come through. All right. I'll lay them out over the rest of the year as they come in. Cool. That's good. Plans for Montreal. I expect we will have a couple of drafts in progress by then. Hopefully, I don't know whether we will need a meeting or not, but I guess we can make that call a month or so out. I will be not present for the first day and a half of Montreal, unfortunately. I have something I have to be in Melbourne for on the Monday, so I'll be flying out straight after that.
So you mean arrive on Friday?
Hey. We'll see. No, it's the other way. Australia's in the
Okay,
future,
yeah.
so if I leave Monday night, I'll actually arrive
Sunday.
Monday. Yeah. I'll arrive early Tuesday morning. The Friends of Email dinners tomorrow night, 7 p.m. I didn't fill in the details. I did actually fill in the details, but the URL blanked out on the slide for some reason. But anyway, the email's sent around. I think pretty much everyone here is in the email working groups as well. So I'll ask for a show of hands this afternoon. Any other business? No? Everyone done the blue sheets? I think so. Yeah, they're floating around somewhere here. Excellent. Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See most of you in an hour. Yeah.
I think this one is, we should prioritize this one.
The JS calendar?
Yeah, because this one has, the heavy tails.
Yeah.
So we've had time so I don't want those drafts to exhaust the work here.
Yeah.
So this one would clearly show that we're moving on.
Yeah.
And just general things, we're using that after, so.
Well, we might be able to bring those two forwards to May.
Yeah.
Let's do that. But?
We have a problem with attachments draft.
Oh, no.
Oh, actually, no, we don't. Yeah, but it's informational, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, okay. I'll still just email ISG saying, this document is informational. Well, I'm still trying to. A polite thing to do. I don't think people will ask for, volunteer for more reviews. I don't think it matters.
I think if they were green before, they'll be green now, and I don't think any of the new ADs really want to review it. So I would just clearly discuss when it's ready and put it in approved announcement to be sent. That's all.
Doesn't seem to be offering me the option of editing the charter.
So you have to log in.
Oh, you're logging in?
Charter.
It also says send notices to Cyrus Taboo, which is clearly no longer accurate. Sadly, Cyrus is doing something super secret for Apple he's not allowed to tell us about. We even got him drunk and he wouldn't tell us.
That's the cheaper.
I think so. When I say we, I mean Ken.
I believe Ken is quite capable.
Yeah.
I live on the East Coast, not far from NSA, and there was really not that much difference in the attitude between my neighbors that work for NSA My neighbors now work for Apple.
Yeah. Apple probably make the chip for the NSA that they put in their agents.
Which mailing list is the Friends meeting with the organization?
Extra and JMAP. Maybe I should have sent it to the older lists as well. I'm at 5. Oh, I'm at 5.
I'm downloading
It might
that.
be fun to look through the INAP 5 archive to see if we achieved all the specifications in JMAP. That'd be an entertaining exercise. Maybe we can find a researcher to do it for us.
Yeah. Get an intern.
There we go.
Dig through. Watch all the flame wars between Mark Crispin. I never met Mark.
Never will.
No. Depending what you believe about the afterlife, anyway.
I'll have to tell you the story of how Mark Crispin, Peter Coates, Randy,
Mm. See whether the other groups like
Unlocking, edit minus.
yeah, okay, I don't see it for JMAP either. And I'm a founding chair on that.
How do we update the charter? Maybe we. Oh,
Okay.
that's it. Okay.
I was going to say it doesn't show an edit button.
Yeah.
There is
Now, there's a new, well, not new anymore, but relatively new charter process where we spin off a version of the charter and it goes through approval, but the ADs have to initiate it.
Mm. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you send it to me now.
Okay.
Yep. Doing that right now.
So we also have to send an email to Monica.
I'll get it started on Thursday after my.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's fine.
Right, emails. All right, thanks for the notes, Jim.
I'm sending that to Mike.
So,
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because you're the
attachment is document looks fine.
cool.
Other than, I still suggest.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot you proposed to use a smart. Just check, and see if there is any.
Cool. Yep, I'm the shepherd on that one now, so that's on me.
This is not,
Yeah, it's more